products will go for exam. Nothing to be concerned about. You just need to make sure that your products are clean. Now,
So
obviously,
when you're talking about exam, they come and they visibly examine by the eyes and the hands, or you're talking about testing? Do we have to take that into the lab to test it? Or?
it will depend.
Okay.
So for USDA, what will happen is when your shipment comes into the United States, you're not even going to see the container first. If they want to examine it, they will bring it over to their own facility, a bonded facility where officers are already there. They'll open up the container and they will test it themselves. Okay, those when you're testing those, you're not going to see the testing results or anything like that. They're not. Can they give it to you? If you sat there and you're trying to argue and say, oh, this was tested over in Vietnam and Vietnam already said that they don't have noxious weeds in there, and it comes in and we say that it has noxious weed, and you want to fight with customs, you can get the results, but it's truthfully not going to be in your best benefit, because there is an act that allows you to get the results, but they're going to fight you, and they're going to give you a very hard time to get the results. It really won't be worth your time, and it will take about 6 months before you even get the results. So a lot of times if they say, hey, we found noxious weeds, I would really recommend most of the time, unless you're really, really confident, accept their answer that they found weeds in there, and just say, okay, your choices will be to either export or destroy. Those are only 2 options. It's not allowed in the country. Okay.
So we need to avoid that kind of situation. Then what do? We have to prevent. We have to do.
To prevent it, there's. What you have to understand is your manufacturers aren't going to care as much as you do. Because the second it's out of the country, their idea is, okay, right? You're left with all the costs, you as the importer. So in order to make sure that it's within standards, you may want to have your supplier test everything before it's brought over. But here's the thing. If I bring in, I'm going to just say something as easy as sugarcane. If I bring in sugarcane, I bring in an entire 40-foot container of sugarcane, and there's a single node in that container, the entire container gets refused. But it's human, it's just, it's human error. It's not going to be, I can sit there and stop it every single time. So it's up to your manufacturer to make sure that they're meeting the regulations. And if they have too many issues, your manufacturer will automatically be put on a red list. Okay, so then it'll automatically get stopped and every single shipment will get examined. Now, when you're dealing with FDA, the testing becomes a little different. The first few shipments, if this is a new manufacturer who never brought into the United States, the first few shipments, FDA will test it themselves, okay? They're not going to make you pay for it. They will test it themselves because they just want to make sure it's in within regulations. However, if they test it 3 times and every single time they are seeing an issue with it, then they will put your manufacturer on an FDA red list. What will happen then?
That's even but trouble.
Exactly. It's not asking,
everybody's scared of work.
Exactly. Because it's just going to cost you more. So we can help you to get yourselves off the IA, and when we're doing IA removals, it becomes in a very controlled environment. Okay, but when we're doing stuff like this, yes, we can help you resolve it. That's not a problem. But obviously, you want to avoid it in the first place, because if they go on a red list, it doesn't mean that you cannot bring it in while they're on the red list. You can bring it into the country, but now FDA is going to make you go to a private lab and you have to pay for your own testings. And the biggest problem with all this is generally for food products, expiration dates. Obviously for yours it's going to be a little bit better, but in general it's the expiration that really kills it. When you go to private lab testing, you're usually looking anywhere from 1 to 2 months in terms of processing, where the private lab will send you the results. You're going to review it. After you review it, and let's just say private lab says, hey, we tested it, everything passed, it's good to go. They're going to say, do we have permission to send it to FDA? FDA then has to review it again on their side and then release it to customs to release the shipment. Okay, so it's an entire process, and just the fact that it takes so long for food products, it just becomes a larger headache. Okay, but I would say when you're bringing this in, your biggest concern is how are you going to label this? Okay, I understand during our conversation you guys already want to bring this in as dietary supplements. Dietary supplements have their own regulations. Okay, can you bring it in as a dietary supplement? Yes, but you're going to need to get registered with FDA in terms of there's general FDA registration. Then there is registration when you're dealing with medicine. Okay, that is completely different registration, and now you're going to have both of them that are required. I really don't recommend you go that route. If you sell this as a herb, because the manufacturer is the one who's making it into a dietary supplement, that's not your concern. So if FDA ever asks, you're not here to sell a dietary supplement, because you aren't. You're selling raw material. That's what you want to sell, okay? You need to understand that.
Okay,
raw
sure,
material.
Sure.
Okay? What you're going to sell is the raw material. And if you bring it in just as the raw material, you're just bringing in a herb, it is allowed. No issues. Okay? And your biggest concern is your labeling on your products. You can't label when you bring it in, you can't label it and say, hey, ginseng is good for your health. It's going to help you with, all this. Exactly. You avoid all of it. When you bring it in, all you're going to say is, this is the name of the product. Here's your nutrition facts. That's your ingredients. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else. Don't go beyond that.
Perfect.
And the labeling is the manufacturer, the supplier do the labeling for us.
Correct. Your supplier should be
We
doing
ask
that.
them to do the labeling like that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And there are regulations for your nutrition facts, for your ingredients list, what is required on all your packaging.
Yeah.
If you need help reviewing those,
Yes.
then before your manufacturer even starts printing them, it's what's called your artwork labels, right? It's just your draft before they actually start printing it.
Yeah.
You can provide us the artwork labels. We can review it for you, make sure they're correct.
Yeah.
Then your manufacturer starts printing. Don't have them print after the fact, because your labels are officially supposed to be correct before they enter the country. Not they enter the country, then we sit there and fix all the labels. Okay? Obviously, US labor, much more expensive than bringing it from another country. You might as well have them fix it correctly the first time. Okay?
For the labeling, so you have somebody over here to check for the labeling standard?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. One more question. Because I saw some of the packets, for the OC, they say, okay, it's made in Vietnam or China, right? But some of the material in the same packaging, I saw like pack for USA or pack in USA.
Yes.
So what is your recommendation?
So it
our
depends.
products?
It depends on what you want to disclose. So there's certain part of the label is going to be a custom requirement. Part of the label is is going to be an FDA requirement. The part you're talking about right now, where it says packed for, you're allowed to say either distributed by or manufactured by. Why do you not want to say manufactured by? Because you disclose who your manufacturer is. Everyone else who buys they're just going to go around you, right? They can go around you, go directly to the manufacturer, say, hey, I want this product. You're out of business. Okay. So a lot of people will prefer to say distributed by, and who's the distributor? You guys. So you list your company.
We step out of the responsibility of the manufacturer.
Exactly. And so when you sell to your clients, the only thing that they're going to see is who distributed, and that's you.
We are in the middle.
They won't know where you sourced it from.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good to know.
Do you guys have any questions about what you guys are bringing in or things like that?
So with your company, I do read on the website. So I do see a lot of services. Yes. So exactly what, besides logistic, what else that you also provide the services?
That's a broad question.
Yes,
I guess the real question is, what are you looking for?
Right,
for the most part, I can sum it up this way. We can provide all your logistics from beginning to end.
Yes.
So our company first started out as a customs brokerage. We've been in business for over 50 years.
Right.
Okay. So for our customs brokerage, we started off like that, and from there we became a licensed freight forwarder, and we also have our own trucking company. And so again, we really, and as you can see, we have our own warehouse. So we do provide everything from beginning to end.
Yes.
Let's just say you don't have your own warehouse. We can store it here. It's FDA registered, and we can send it off for you. Okay. Only thing we will not do at our warehouse is we will not repackage. Okay. Because once we start repackaging, as in opening your, we can open your boxes. So let's just say you have your larger outer box and you have your inner packaging. We can open those and separate it out for you if needed. But once you tell us open it so that the food product is actually exposed, now we become a manufacturing and processing facility, and there's a whole nother set of requirements for those. So that part we will not do. But if what you mean is you need help distributing boxes to retail sale, or even your larger ones, labeling, any of those, we can assist with all of that. So we deal with clients where we deal with actually manufacturers directly for some of our clients. So the manufacturers, they want to sell, let's just say they want to sell on Amazon, and they'll bring it here. We'll label everything per Amazon's requirements for them once it arrives in the US, hold it if it goes on FDA hold for inspections, things like that, and we'll coordinate with all the government agencies for you guys.
So you are doing the labeling too?
Yes, if needed,
So
we
you
can do the
print it out
labeling.
and then label.
Correct. And then we'll also do distribution if we do retail sale, and we'll choose the best options on what's the most cost-effective way for you guys to actually send it to your customers, right? Some customers, it's going to be pick and packing. They want, one item of this, one item of that, that's fine. If they want full pallets, not a problem as well. So you just need to tell us, what are you looking for? For the most part, we can provide majority of the services.
So you are doing the delivery for us, or you are the distributors for us?
We are going to be, we can do the delivery for you, and we can also distribute for you. When I say distribute for you, I just mean some clients prefer that, as in your clients, they will prefer to come to our warehouse and pick up from our warehouse rather than we deliver to them. We can do that as well. So that's what I mean by distribution. Okay, so delivery, distribution, either one we can work with.
How about the order if like our customer, our buyer order from Vietnam and we ship directly to their warehouse? So you're gonna have somebody help us on the process, on the broker document. Right?
Yes, we can bring
nice.
it directly to their warehouse as well.
Okay.
So now we're talking about importing into the United States, but later if we have product that we want to export to the Vietnam, you also have that services.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, can you please tell us a little bit about the office in Vietnam?
Okay, so we have an office over in Vietnam. We're able to assist, same thing. We can assist with the warehousing, export clearance out of the US, the import clearance into Vietnam, and your customs clearance as well. So there's going to be an export customs clearance out of the USA and import clearance into Vietnam. What you have to understand whenever we are shipping anything, you want to concentrate on the regulations of the receiving country, not the exporting country. So right now you guys are shipping into the United States. We care more about the USA requirements. When we start sending over to Vietnam, it's not, it came from Vietnam, so therefore no worries, we can just ship it right back out. No, they still have their own requirements for it,
right.
Especially for Asia. We like to collect our taxes back, right? As if we can prove that it's the same product that left the country is the same one going back in, then usually our governments will give us our taxes back to you guys, and we wanted to make sure that that all happens. So there are certain procedures that we have to go through to make sure it's in order. And the other thing is also going to be certificates and things that may be needed, right? So every single product you bring into the USA is going to have different requirements. So before you start introducing new products, like for instance, right, this is a long list, okay? It's nothing unusual to bring in, but what you do need to understand is, for instance, your second product over here, this product over here is, you can only bring it in frozen. You can't bring it in dried, okay?
What's that? I saw it then.
Really?
Your
You know this one? Familiar to this one?
Yes.
Don't chọn cái đó.
Chuyên khung.
Xin khung.
Chuông sông, the second one?
The second or the
Second.
third one?
Really?
Second, yes.
Are you serious?
So-
because
Soohoo is
we
fine,
when we
right?
do the in the
Xin khung là trai mà
in terms of your requirements, then there is going to be a permit that's required. Okay, so again, that's why I say every single product you bring in, and here's the thing. When you go to anywhere, your first question is going to be, well, I see it in the grocery store. I see it here.
Yeah.
They didn't do it that way.
Yeah, that's our concern.
Exactly.
Right.
What you need to understand is, truthfully, you can't compare what you see at the grocery store to or anywhere else to what is actually allowed in the United States. You already know customs cannot look at every single container that comes into USA and inspect every single one of them. That's why we have what's called random exams, right? It's surprise exams that you're not supposed to be expecting. A container is randomly picked, that gets examined. So there will always be stuff entering the country that is not officially allowed in the country. Then the question is it ever going to be caught or not, right? You guys being fact of, oh, this frozen product, it has to come in frozen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good to know, huh?
if you take lychee, for instance, we've had an incident where lychee was brought into the United States. It was brought in frozen. Our client sold it frozen to the grocery store. The grocery store sold it as fresh. Okay? Customs didn't know
See the
about
fresh
this.
one.
It just happens to be you had an officer walking around a grocery store. They looked and like, this isn't allowed in the country. Why is it here? They traced it back, and the client was able to prove that they sold it to the grocery store frozen, and it was the grocery store who changed who changed how it was brought in, and it was the grocery store that was penalized. Okay, so never compare yourself to others. If you ever if you aren't sure about something and you always want us to look into it, just tell us and say, hey, this client's bringing it in this way.
Exactly.
We'd like you to look into it a little more. No problem. Okay. Yeah. We're not going to say we know everything right out of the top of our heads. It's 100% yes or no. There's too many food products to be dealing with. Okay. And so we've been in business long enough, and we've been in the food industry for a very long time. So for the most part, we do understand what we're bringing in. We understand the requirements for what we're bringing in, but you're always more than welcome to say, hey, just go ahead and take a look at this a little more and see if we can bring it in this way. And no problem, we can help you with that. Okay. But yeah, there's certain things where you can and can't bring in certain forms. For instance, some products might be only allowed in ground. Some products might be allowed in only from certain countries, things like that. So it all depends on every single product is going to have its own requirements.
That's good to know. Yeah, exactly. So before we import or prepare or start anything, we have to double check with you guys before we process it.
Yes, that's the
One by
recommended
one.
way. Now, granted, is it going to happen?
Yeah.
No. we already know as your business starts picking up, we understand, right? If let's just say you have one product in here that you're like, oh, everyone's bringing it in right now. It's a hot product that we want to start with. Herbs, you don't really get hot products, so it's not as much of a concern for you guys. But if you start looking at other food products in general, there's always going to be this one product that's a trend going on right now, and everyone wants to bring it in. And so at that point, are you going to come to us and say, hey, what are the regulations for it? No, most of the time you won't. We understand that. Most of the time you're going to say, you're just going to tell your manufacturer, put it in the container, no worries. We'll deal with it when it gets here.
No.
And so if you're cautious, if you're on the cautious side, perfect. You make our life easier, okay? Sure. Because we stop it over there.
Yeah.
We're not stopping it here in the US. Once it gets to the US, we're just dealing with the consequences of it. And so can we deal with the consequences? Yes, we will help you with it. It's
But we all don't want to take a risky on it.
It's nothing out of the ordinary. You just don't want to be doing it so often where Customs, USDA, and FDA all look at your company and say, oh, this client's trouble, we better start looking at all their shipments. That's the only thing you really want to be avoiding. Other than that, every importer will experience at some point where, you know, they bring in a shipment, it gets held, and it's not meeting the regulations. It's not a big deal for the most part, okay? But our goal is to prevent everything from happening in the beginning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, for example, the cinnamon that we are about to ship it over here, so we have the supply over there. They already have, met the FDA registration and everything already, but we're not sure, right? So for example, if we buy the product from them in Vietnam, so your company will also help us start from Vietnam, right?
Yes.
So what do you do in Vietnam at this point? Fresh. So you're going to go to the supplier with us and make sure they have the right products.
The first thing we want to do is for your cinnamon sticks, we're going to need to get them FDA registered. That's the first step we're going to do.
Which they have, right?
Oh, they already have an FDA registration.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so do they have? Well, if they have a registration, then they have a DUNS. Does your company have a DUNS number? Or is that something that you need our help?
That one we need to work with you.
So that one. So the other thing is we're going to need to make sure you guys have a DUNS number because you guys are bringing in food products. Mandatory, your company must have a DUNS. Okay, so that one we can help you resolve. That's not a problem. After that, if you are doing, okay, you guys are going to. Do you guys know what an SFVP is?
Yes.
Okay, so SFVP is your Foreign Supplier Verification Program. It's basically a regulation by FDA. The reason they put this into place is just because when we send our government to another country and we say, hey, we want to regulate all your manufacturers and make sure they meet our requirements before bringing it in, right? What are your manufacturers, especially in China, what do they like to do? No. You can't come into my factory.
Right.
We don't want to let you guys see our products, right? Yeah. Money goes under the table to send them away and everyone calls it a day. Because we don't have authority to regulate everything over in the other countries, they put the burden on the importers, which makes it your requirement now to bring everything in correctly. So for your foreign verification program, the next step is going to be making sure that they have everything in place for you. Okay, and it's going to be all their certificates that they have, their food registrations, and your processing. Every single if you're truly doing an SFVP correctly, every product you bring into the United States must have its processing flow charts and must have its hazard analysis. Okay, so when you have all that in place, that's when you can start bringing it in. After that, for you guys to get set up for us to actually clear the customs for you, there's going to be a power of attorney that needs to be signed and given to us and we do a background. We're required to do a background check on all the companies as well, but before they're allowed to bring into the United States. So we're just going to ask you for your identification, which is your SS4 form, your articles of incorporation, and your driver's license. It's most likely going to be you. And other than that, you guys can just start shipping.
But the foreign FS that one, so you will help us also, right?
Yes, we can help you with that.
Right, because those terms we cannot deal with the suppliers over there, but the FDA, the government, they don't actually in person dealing with that, but just on paper, right?
Okay, so when we're dealing with SFVP, we'll help you with
the paperwork.
In terms of the first one, right? Definitely, we're gonna oversee that. We can help you with that. Afterwards, when you start bringing in all sorts of products, right? I mean, we have clients who bring in thousands of different products every single year. At that point, we will take a step back, and it is going to be you guys are going to need to take care of it yourselves. Okay, if you need our assistance with it. Yes, we can assist you with it.
But you assist in paperwork only, right? But not in person.
In terms of going to the factory?
Do we need to go to the factory or just everything is on the paperwork?
It depends.
Yes.
You have different options.
Yes.
you are allowed to go visit the factory, and we actually do go visit factories ourselves, depending on our role in it. Okay. So if you guys are asking us and say, hey, we need you to go to the factory and take care of this for them. Majority of the time, most importers do not want us to go see their factories. Okay. Why? Because you have to pay for me to go all the way out there. Okay. It's not like we're very expensive, but they don't want to pay for the flight over there. So a lot of times what will happen is when we're going to visit a factory, we were just visiting factories in Thailand 2 months ago. Okay. It's usually because the manufacturer has a problem with the United States, and we're there to help resolve it. Then we really want to start see their true processing, and we need their full cooperation in order to get them off an import alert, make sure that they're meeting the US regulations. That's usually when we're going to visit them. For you as the SFVP, in order for you to check that they are bringing in everything correctly, you are allowed to do both paperwork and go visit them. Okay? But it's you guys who need to go visit them, not us as the broker.
Right.
So if you...
But you as the broker will do the paperwork for us.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yes. So we're going, in terms of the paperwork, we're going to file that you guys are the SFVP party.
Yes.
If you ever want to bring us on as your SFVP party, we can do that. But obviously at that point, then we will charge you for that service. So it just depends on, what are you guys willing to do on your side, and what do you guys need our assistance with.
It's pretty easy for you because you have the office in Vietnam, so you have
Yes.
a person, you have a
What's the business location in Vietnam?
Sorry?
What's the business location in Vietnam?
Ho Chi Minh.
Located Ho Chi Minh. What's the district?
District?
Yeah.
I need to talk to our other department there. They actually handle all that over there.
Yeah, so later on, can you provide us the business name,
Yes.
the address? So we need to verify some information.
Of course, no problem.
So as you say, the location, the other in Vietnam, just like sister company over here, right?
Yes.
So whatever you guys do over here, they all do the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Because the reason I asking because we do import and export. So we starting from here to do the import first, but we still have some product on hand right now.
Okay.
So another story later, but it's good to know.
Okay.
At least you have the whole network in Vietnam.
Yes.
That's what.
Yeah, we specialize in Asia. I would say 80% of our clients they focus in Asia. So Vietnam, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Malaysia. Those are usually our strongest.
Malaysia too.
Those are usually our strongest countries in terms of importing and exporting, and India as well. So outside of that, then we have offices over in like Europe, in Australia, things like that. So it just depends on where you're looking to go, what services you need. Asia, we can cover everything 100%, not an issue. Outside of Asia, when we start dealing with Europe and Australia, we are able to do some services, not all the services. So it just depends on where you're going, what you need from us.
Good.
So I like I told you before you called me, I already reached out to register corporation.
Yes.
And I already processed the paperwork. So the way that they explained to me is they will register the FDA registration for us.
Okay.
Right. So for right now, what do we do with the FDA registration? Because we do have a little warehouse, but you say that if we store our products here with your warehouse here, then we don't need to do the FDA registration, right? Because you already FDA registration register. So how that works? What is your recommendation? Because we do have a little warehouse in Orange County.
That part is not going to be up to my recommendation. That is actually going just to depend on your company and how you guys want to operate, right? Our warehouse is just an option for you. If you'd like to store here, that's not a problem. But if you want to store in your warehouse to have constant access where you can just walk right there and you see your product, then yes, you would want to be FDA registered so you can store your products there.
But if we already have the product stored at your warehouse, and our small warehouse is just like additional warehouse, then we don't need to do the FDA registration, right? Because the product is already stored here.
If it is stored here,
Yeah.
then you don't need a registration.
Right.
But you being an additional warehouse,
Yes.
the second even one bag enters your warehouse and
Yes.
you're storing it there,
Yes.
you're supposed to have an FDA registration.
Still need the
You still need to
registration.
register with that little warehouse.
Yes.
Even big or small.
Even
it's
small.
additional. we
Even
still-
if we have one or two or three, if we have three
If you
warehouses,
have 3 warehouses,
we
3
register
different
3.
locations all have to be registered separately.
I see.
Oh, if we're using your warehouse location over here, do we need to apply for business license
Yes.
still? But using your address.
No. So when you're dealing with, so what you have to understand is there's the federal level and there's the state level, okay? And within your federal level, there's still your different government agencies. Your business license is really it's really on your state level for the most part to allow you to sell and operate. And then FDA is going to be on your federal level. We're dealing with everything on a federal level for you right now. So us being FDA registered, it is just when you travel to another country, usually what does the customs ask you over in the other country? They say, what hotel are you going to? How long are you staying at the hotel? We want the address, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening here.
Same.
FDA is doing the same thing. They're saying, where are you storing your product and how long is it staying there? If we need to come see the product, let's just say there's a recall, right? Let's just say there's a breakout for a disease and all of a sudden everything from that country or a certain product from that country, everything has to be recalled. If that happens, they want to know where their product is. So they have to have a point of contact in the United States. That's what the facilities are for.
So my next concern is because I already reached out to register a corporation and already make the payment.
Okay.
It's a little rushed into it's a little, we rush into it a little bit. But because I did not talk to you, so I want to go with the whole
You
package.
changed her life. No,
So my
kidding, but it's true. You have to talk to her.
Yeah.
She changed her mind. Yes, so we support her idea.
Yeah, so now I did call the registered corporation to hold on, but I want to know, so right now, what is the difference between their package and your package, the services package, in regard to right now their services? We pay like 2 years, 2-year contract.
Okay.
So it's include FDA register for our warehouse. It's include 4 times prior notice.
Okay.
Right, and something else,
Oh,
right?
she concerned about the proposal.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is the difference between your package, that your services compared to them, so that I kind of know?
Okay.
What is,
So in terms of I don't know what your package is with them, but based on what you're saying right now, the FDA registration that is already included in ours.
Yeah.
In terms of the prior notice,
Yes.
the prior notice you will actually, for the most part, you will never use with Register Core. So prior notice can be filed by the customs broker while we're filing the clearance for it. And the other time it's filed is if you're filing, the manufacturer is filing them. So your manufacturer can file it before it leaves, or we as the customs broker will file it on our side while we're doing the entry. So prior notice, no matter what, it still has to be filed with the clearance. So basically what's going to happen is if your customs broker comes to you and says, oh, we can't file a prior notice and you guys need to go file it separately, which is allowed to be filed separately, that's really the only time you're using Register Core. Other than that, the broker is usually already filing it. Exactly.
Already included in the package, yeah.
So it's for us, it's not included in the registration package. It's
including the custom.
Exactly.
Yes.
Broker, yeah.
Okay. So So talking about your whole package.
Mhm.
So what is the price quotation for the whole package? Is that dealing with the whole package, or is on each individual time?
So your customs clearance
Yeah.
is going to be billed based on every entry. When we say every entry, we mean every bill of lading that is shipped. So you could have one bill of lading that has 5 containers on it, one customs clearance. That's all it is. Okay. For your trucking, obviously, depending on what you're trying to do, then you're going to have different trucking charges based on where is it going, what's happening with it. There are set charges in terms of I go from point A to point B. I can give you a quote for that. But let's just say there's congestion at the port. If you guys don't know, LA port is usually very congested in terms of our drivers might be sitting at a terminal for 6 to 8 hours just waiting for a container. There's 2 hours free at the port. Then after that, we do have to bill you for every hour the driver's sitting there. It's not anyone's fault, but it's just charges that will always occur. It's standard in the industry. Chassis charges, storage charges, things like that. Those are just billed by the day. So for the most part, we can't give you a flat rate, but we can give you a rate in terms of the standard charges and what to expect out of them.
Right. And so for right now, with the cinnamon powders and sticks, that we are anticipate to have that shipment within the next 2 months.
Okay.
So what the first thing that we do with you?
First thing, let's see, you have your registration down.
So first thing, because then we have to do the FDA registration, right? Because we do
Yes.
have a small warehouse.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to need to do your FDA registration.
Yeah.
We're also, at the same time, we're going to be doing your DUNS because without a
The
DUNS number.
UFI number, right? Is that-
Correct.
Okay.
Without the DUNS number, then we won't be able to do your registration.
Got it. Yeah.
And then after that, then it's just going to be, let's see, for you on the manufacturing side, you're going to need to start making sure that they have their SFEP documentations in place.
Yes.
And the first shipment, don't worry, we will walk you through that one, make sure it is all in place.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll start the booking process once everything is ready to be shipped. So then there's going to be a few logistical things that we're going to need to know. For instance, are you bringing in a full container, bringing in just some pallets? When you bring in some pallets, they have to be fumigated to meet the US regulations. And then who's going to be unloading it here at destination? Where is it going? Things like that.
Yeah. So what the difference from the containers and the pallet? You say that you have to, with the containers, we don't have to do the fumigation?
No. So fumigation is because you brought it on a pallet. So in a container, right, there's a few ways you can bring it in. If you're trying to save costs and I bring in a full 40-foot container, if I palletize everything, you're going to lose about 15% of your space in terms of packing it as much as possible because it's sitting on a pallet. So a lot of companies will floor load the container. But if you floor load a container, it's not easy to take out of a container. You have people there who's going to be hand unloading. Okay. We have services where we can send our people to you to unload for you if you're bringing it to your facility. If it's at our facility, then we will unload it at our facility. Okay.
So for right now, with the registration, FA registration, and the apply the DUNS number and all that, so that is the 2 years contract, right? Because after 2 years, we have to renew it every 2 years.
Correct.
So with the first 2 years, what is the price that you will charge us?
Do you have the package?
The
Package service?
The price quotation, the price
yes.
package?
So it's $250 a year.
$250 a year.
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll keep your registration renewed for your 2 years.
Yes.
And
so that is $250. So that's like $500 for 2 years.
Yes.
Because it's 2 years
Correct.
renewal. So $500. But right now it's already June.
No, so it's not going to be based on
Month.
it's not based on month.
Yearly.
So it starts when the FDA is actually active.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's active June
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
then it's 2
Next
years
June.
in June.
Yeah.
For FDA, they will usually do their renewal. So it depends. Usually for FDA, it's going to depend on the year. Truthfully, you're probably going to have a month and a half just because FDA likes doing their renewals in November through December. Start around November through December when they see that your renewal's up, then they will, FDA themselves will just automatically start canceling everyone's registrations and say, go refile it. So around that time, it depends. Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes they're good about it. Sometimes they're not. So we extend it as long as possible, just so you guys are actually making sure your registration gets it as long as possible. Because we don't want to have to renew it if they're not going to make us renew it. Well, it's just charging you guys for no reason, right?
So to do the renew FDA registration, so you have to do it for us as well, or can for the second year, the second time and later, can I be myself doing it, or it has to be a U.S. agent?
So you guys will be listed as the U.S. agent, but the filing itself will be done by us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we cannot file it? Later. No, I'm not. The first time you will do it for sure. But then later on, I'm just asking.
Yeah, later on, we would still have to continue the
filing it, but we cannot do it by ourselves.
Correct, unless it's transferred over to another, to someone else who's certified to do it.
It has to be certified.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that's
Like a U.S. agent certified to do it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So authorized to your company.
You have to be certified in order to filing the registration.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
I have a quick question that I still have a little bit confused about the product. Not confused, but can you explain us more? Because for the first product, we start from the cinnamon. We know it's easy to on the document just say, oh, it's spice something. It's easy under the food. But our target for long term, we concentrate on the herbal.
Okay.
Because we still want to support into the practitioner or the manufacturing for the supplement.
Okay.
So later on, for the second order, if we import the kind of product like that, so what different on document?
There's nothing different about the document. So there's a standard. So we're going to need, in order to clear any shipment, it's going to be standard is invoice, packing list, bill of lading. Those are the standards, and then your ISF because you're bringing in ocean containers. But after that, the question really becomes what is on your invoice, what is on your packing list. If you're bringing in from multiple countries, so let's just say your manufacturer over in Vietnam bought their product over from China. They shipped it over from China over to Vietnam, and then they just shipped out of Vietnam.
No, we don't do that way. Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess your other thing is going to
directly from Vietnam to
directly
here.
to Vietnam to here, and
Yes.
when the products that are coming out of China, you're buying directly out of China and shipping it directly to the U.S.
No. OC from Vietnam. OC culture original from Vietnam, not
Everything
China.
originated in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay, so if everything originates from Vietnam, then you have no problem in terms of you just need to make sure if you have different factories growing different things, every factory needs to be reported as well as their FDA registration.
Oh, okay. Check that's a requirement. Okay.
So you just need to make sure that on your invoice could have one company at the top who's your shipper, right? The person who's consolidating everything together, buying it from their different factories. But on the invoice itself, under each of your lines, if there's different factories involved, we need to know the name, address of every single factory and the registrations so that it's reported correctly.
Okay. Because I'm the one working with the farmer in Vietnam. Because some of the farmer they under the umbrella of the manufacturing, but some of the farmer I want to support them. So that's why they told me, oh, I would like to sell the product to you, but I know the law that we have to have the FDA violation.
Yes.
So I say, okay, it doesn't matter for the cost. I cover that one for them. Give them a chance to sell the product to me.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do with the new farmer to want to sell the product to us. Like what's your opinion? Should I work in Vietnam with the FDA regulation or the FDA over here?
You have
Agent. Yeah.
you have to work with both.
On both sides.
Yes. You have to meet the regulations of both countries.
Oh.
Yeah. So you'll need to get the farmer registered for Vietnam's FDA, and then you'll also need to get them registered for USA FDA.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you help us with the second step over here?
Yes.
That's nice. And for the FDA in Vietnam, do you have your person also help on the first step?
Yes.
That's cool. So we worry about it.
Yeah. No. It is.
Right.
Yeah. It is a concern. I mean, it's standard. So you just need to again when
Do it
we're
right.
talking, the best way is to tell us what are
The
you guys
whole
actually
thing.
trying to do?
Exactly.
What services do you actually need, right? If you just tell me and say, hey, I have a manufacturer in Vietnam, bring it to the US. I'm not going to know what you need. When you tell me bring to the US,
for the
my
time.
idea is they are registered, they're all set, everything is good to go. All I need to do is get a booking for you on a ship, secure you in a container, and I'm ready. Okay. So whenever you need any extra things, like let's just say you need the export clearance out of Vietnam, you need the FDA registration, things like that, you need to let us know in advance so we know what to work on.
All right. Yeah.
So another question that we have the concern is, like for example, spice. I mean cinnamon, right? So on the FDA paperwork that we select, so it's under carry of spice, right? Cinnamon is spice.
Okay, so what do you guys current on your description? You guys have called it what, spice or cinnamon spice or what?
So that's my question.
Oh, that's your question.
Yeah. So do we call that as just a spice, or is dietary supplement, or it's or agricultural commodities?
No, you will never call it dietary supplements.
Okay.
Don't call it agricultural products because we have to actually know. When you tell me agricultural product, right? If you gave a document to customs and said agricultural product,
Yes.
they're gonna look at me like, what are you bringing in?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to be specific with your product.
Yes.
You're bringing in product cinnamon.
Yes.
If you're bringing in a cinnamon stick,
It's
call
spice.
it cinnamon stick.
And it's considered spice, right?
Yes, it's considered a spice category, but
Yes.
you don't need to put the spice part.
Yeah.
We just need to know it's a cinnamon stick because we also have to, when we're bringing in agricultural products, we want to know the form that it's in. If it's ground cinnamon, becomes ground cinnamon on the invoice. If it's a cinnamon stick, the
Powders.
whole stick,
Stick, yeah.
then it's going to be cinnamon
Cinnamon
stick.
stick. If it's cinnamon powder,
Exactly.
and then you will do the rest.
Exactly. And if we ever have
with
more,
the category, a question about the category of the product.
Yes.
yeah.
So
if you ever have, if you're not sure what it is, right? Let's just. If we're not sure about what it is, then we will ask you.
Yes.
But for the most part, we know what each country is specializing in, what they're bringing in. So, I mean, for instance, right, cinnamon. Where do you usually find your cinnamon? It's usually coming from Asia or it's usually coming from India, right? If we start seeing it in other countries, we're going to start looking at you and saying, did it really come from this country? Because you always have manufacturers who will say, hey, I bought it from this manufacturer, so therefore the country of origin is Vietnam.
Right.
That's not always true.
Right. Actually,
Everyone knows that a lot of manufacturers over in China have moved their factories over to Vietnam, and they're still manufacturing in China.
Yeah.
They're just shipping it to Vietnam, changing the label, and bringing it to the U.S.
Yes.
It's nothing new. It's
But
not.
do
it's
they
not
have
exciting.
any problem with that? If they
Yes.
do that, or they do have problem, right?
Yes.
Because original of the product,
Exactly.
they can check it from there. Exactly.
What you have to understand is customs actually has a percentage of every product, how much is coming in from every country, and whether or not it's even possible. Okay, so they actually know how much farmland of bananas is in a certain country, and so if that country starts bringing in too many bananas to the United States, we know.
You mean the quota?
That's not specifically a quota. That quota is different. So quota is just stopping you from bringing in too much. because
Somebody
because
they
the
sell
quotas.
that one too.
So that's a little bit different, but we do have statistics on every single country and the products that they manufacture, the products that they bring in. So customs does have an idea. And here's the thing, if that ever happens, and let's just, even if your manufacturer is the one that's the issue, okay? And that's why, even if you sit there and you blame your manufacturer and say, well, we didn't know, the manufacturer told us that it was from Vietnam, and so we believe them, it's out of Vietnam. Unfortunately, they can't go to the manufacturer and say, oh, this is your fault, and penalize the manufacturer. They're going to penalize you. And that's why you guys have to make sure you're meeting the regulations. And I mean, it's, again, all the different ways to avoid things. It's nothing new, it's nothing surprising, but you guys do have to understand, if customs catches it, they're not going to stop your first shipment and say, hey, you can't bring it in like this. They will let you do this for a few months, let you build it up, and then come down on you.
And come back from there. Yeah.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
I guess last question I have is like your warehouse, because we already have our own warehouse. For the first shipment, it's not that much, right? So our small warehouse does have enough spaces to store them. So in that way, we do not need to store here, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so because either way, we still have to register for our warehouse anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So if that's the case, then during the booking, right, then you'll let us know and say, hey, you know, we want to deliver to here, and give us your address. And so we'll provide you the quote. Again, we don't do anything without your approvals. So we'll make sure that you guys know the upfront cost of it, and then you guys can decide, hey, you know, this is the cost to go from the port over to your warehouse, and we'll provide you everything you need in terms of equipment and things like that. If you need the equipment, you have to let us know in advance, just so we can make sure that we have it ready for you, right? And that's really if you're dealing with like forklift, lift gates, pallet jacks, things like that.
So talking about the warehouse here, each time that we have the shipment to come over here, if our warehouse is already booked, packed, and we need to store here, do we have to contract with you in advance, or it's by shipment?
Well, usually what's going to happen is you're already going to know that you purchased your container, right?
Yes.
And let's just say while it's in the water, you're not sure, and you're gonna say, I believe it will fit in our warehouse, as in your warehouse.
Yes.
If that's the case, no problem, right? And then once it arrives, you're like, my warehouse is full. Don't worry, usually just give us a call, let us know. For the most part, we will have room. Obviously, there's some months, especially like even right now, the economy, everyone knows, is slowing down right now. Okay, a lot of the importers are not sure about how much they want to purchase, things like that. So a lot of people are being overstocked. And so during these times, if our warehouse starts getting full, we'll notify everyone in advance. We'll say, hey, our warehouse is getting full. If you guys have any products you need brought in, just let us know in advance, and we'll just let you know whether or not we can put it in our warehouse. And don't worry, we will prioritize certain clients who we know, hey, you know, they literally don't have a warehouse, they don't have room to put it in. We will prioritize them. So if we know another importer who we know they have a big warehouse, and they're just trying to bring the stuff to us that they don't need, and that's the only reason why they're using us, we will prioritize our other clients first. Yeah.
When I do a lot of readings on the FDA registration and all that, so talking about testing the products for the pest, for the chemicals.
Yes.
So for the cinnamon, we don't need to do those tests, right?
The best practice
Yes.
is to have your manufacturer test it before it leaves.
Yes.
Make sure that they don't find anything in them.
So that manufacturer is in Vietnam.
Yes.
So they have to test in Vietnam.
They don't have to,
Got it.
but we recommend to.
Okay. Yeah.
Because certain products will always be known for certain things.
Yes.
Okay. So for the cinnamon sticks, I would advise you get it tested over in Vietnam. Your manufacturer will test and say, hey, you know, we don't have pests in there, we don't have salmonella, whatever they have.
Affiliated.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then once the manufacturer has confirmed, you ship it over here.
Yes.
Once it gets here, that doesn't mean it doesn't go for another testing.
Right.
Okay.
And that testing is us? We test it, or the FDA test?
If the manufacturer does not have any problems,
Yes.
FDA may want to test it themselves,
Right.
and then FDA will burden the fees,
Yes.
as an FDA will pay for all the costs.
Yes.
So, and this is also why you want to be FDA registered. Actually, you guys are in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
You guys you're going to be at the border of it, so you might not actually have an option. They go to Orange County, but it depends on where in Orange County, so we'll need to get your address. So for FDA, whenever FDA wants to test, they will come to your facility. As in, an officer is going to drive to your warehouse and they're going to pick the products themselves. It's not you get to pick it for them and send it over. Okay.
But they make appointment with us, right? Because we're not there all the time.
Correct. No, correct.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll always ask you and say, hey, give us who's the point of contact for this specific shipment. We'll need a phone number, we'll need their email, and then FDA will actually reach out to you guys. They'll notify you in advance and say, hey, I'm going to schedule for this around this time, this is when I want to come. And so they'll take the samples themselves.
Right. So my question is, I don't need to worry about looking for the laboratory to do the test on the cinnamon for me in America.
It depends on its cinnamon.
Yeah.
Correct. You're not going to need to.
Okay.
The private lab is only going to be if your manufacturer has issues or certain products that are automatically on hold. For instance, if you bring in tamarind, tamarind is known to be a very dirty product. All tamarind from any country, we don't care where, it's automatic hold. The importer is required to pay for all testings no matter what.
And then we do the testing.
And then we do the testings as in terms of you guys will need to get a private lab. In terms of a private lab, if you need a private lab, again,
you can do
yes, we can help you guys with that.
Yeah.
So we can arrange it.
Okay. So with the lab, if any product that needs us to do the testing, you also can provide the lab and then help us with all the send out the samples to them and all that. So you will work with us on that.
Correct.
Okay. And for now, for the cinnamon, I understand that the manufacturer in Vietnam need to recommend them to do the testing. But should we, to be sure, should we have their samples and do the test here for them instead of asking them to do the testing over there? Because either way, if we pay for the testing price,
no, so don't have the sample sent here and then you test here and then tell the manufacturer to ship. Because here's the thing, anywhere in between your testing and them shipping out, you might have contamination for the product.
I see.
Okay, so the best method is, the reason why you want the manufacturer to test it themselves first is just to give you more a peace of mind that says, hey, if FDA starts testing it here, most likely I'm not going to have an issue because I'd rather not get the entire container refused, right? But that doesn't mean, let's just say they're testing for salmonella, that doesn't mean your manufacturer, they test for salmonella, it's negative. They don't find salmonella. And then it arrives in the US. We test it for random testing, and then FDA says there's salmonella in here. Okay? US only approves US testing. We do not look at any testing from any other country because money pays in other countries. Okay? So it's only our testing that works. But you don't send it over here for samples and then test that, because even though it is a sample, it is still considered commercial. So you still have to go through the entire customs process, the shipping it and all that. It doesn't make sense to do it that way.
So for your recommendation for the cinnamon right now in Vietnam, we know that the manufacturer over in Vietnam right now, they do have FDA registration already. I'm not sure if they did the testing, but for your recommendation, it's not needed at this point. Because when they ship the whole thing over here, the FDA will test here anyway, right? So.
Correct. If you're confident that your manufacturer doesn't have issues already, has no pesticides, no salmonella, none of that stuff, then
don't need it.
Then I would say it's not needed. Now, again, you are an SFVP importer.
Yes.
Okay.
I would
So
recommend
if
that.
FDA ever walk to your doorstep, they will actually visit you in person. Okay. If FDA ever surprises you at your doorstep and says, "Hey, you are the SFVP for this supplier.
the foreigner.
I'd like to see what you have."
Yes.
Okay, your certifications will, for the most part, it will comply enough to make FDA happy.
I see.
The problem with SFVP is there's no official regulation on what is satisfactory to FDA. Every single officer that looks at your product is going to say something different. You might give them everything that's, the basic things that are required, and an officer might look at it and says, you know what, I want to see more. I don't like to just see this. And another officer might have a completely different answer. Okay? So the testing will also help. Exactly.
Yes.
If you have it included in,
It's
just to
easier.
prove to FDA that you took an extra step to make sure this product is in compliance.
It's easier for the process.
But let's just say, your manufacturer does not want to test every single product or every single shipment every time. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Say, okay, fine, you're not testing it. That doesn't mean it can't be shipped. You can still ship it.
Right.
So it's just a decision between you and your manufacturer.
So that's our decision. We probably can help them out if they don't want to, because for our, secure and make the process easier. Yeah.
Because her question come from the concern in the manufacturing in Vietnam. They ship to some of the country in Asia and Canada and Indian, but never ship to America.
Yes.
So that's why they say, I have on the FDA regulation already, standard everything, but not sure if it's qualified to get in America.
Got it.
So that's why the F.
That's why
the foreigner.
concerned.
So that's why we have the F. The F. That's a F.
No, let's see explain.
Yeah. So, if in terms of the qualifications, no, it is not mandatory. Okay, it is something that the importers will usually do if the product itself or the manufacturer themselves has a history of an issue, then most likely they will test it every single time. But if certain things are too processed, cinnamon sticks, it's not too processed, okay? That is definitely something where if you test it every single shipment, it is going to be normal. It is not a surprise to us. We see a lot of manufacturers, specifically for the commodity cinnamon sticks, they will test it. But if I start bringing in something like, let's just say, bean thread, right? If I start bringing that in, it's processed enough that we aren't as concerned about it. The manufacturers are not going to be testing every single lot of bean threads every single time they're bringing it in. So every time you look at it, it really depends on the product itself, how safe you want to be. But if the manufacturer says, hey, I don't want to be spending the testings on it every single time, it's not a requirement. It is not mandatory. Okay.
But they just want to test for sure if their product meet the
Exactly.
standard.
So we
for the
we need
first
to work on
order.
that.
Exactly.
Just
I
for
would
the
definitely recommend, because
Yes.
there are new manufacturers
Yes.
never bought in the US,
Yeah.
I would highly recommend at least that first shipment get it
Yeah,
tested,
exactly.
make sure it meets every requirement.
Yeah, that's
But that option is in the list of the foreigner verification list, right? That we work with them.
As in,
The testing, they have to test. They have to.
Yes.
It's all in there.
You would add it.
Checklist. Yeah, we just.
Yeah.
It's a
So for
checklist.
the first order, we're not going to
We
do that.
Yeah.
To make sure, like if the first one order coming up nicely, and then for the second order, for the first order we just like couple pallet, but then later on the whole container. So more confident to order for the next step.
Exactly. It really is for your confidence.
Yeah, and we don't want to, throw it away when you get here,
Yes.
right?
That's
our cost.
No, that's
our cost.
just
It's really important.
the whole team to
Over there
to
with
stand
us.
by to help you with on the process. And so when you send us the proposal, so can you please also send the whole package, like her question say, give the service for the package, but later on we still need the service if we order the container.
Yes.
So we need the big warehouse like yours,
So
we also need that service.
So what I'm gonna give you right away is I'll be able to give you the warehousing, as in our warehousing rates right away. Trucking to our facility, it will be different depending on if it is a full container or a partial container, because it's going to be two different types of trucks. And when it's a partial container, we don't pick it up at the normal locations. It goes to a different warehouse, and there's three main LTL locations in Los Angeles that you will be picking up from. But because I don't know which location, then it's just going to depend on when your shipment is ready, then we'll be able to tell, because it will be your weight, your CBM, all that is going to play a factor in what the cost is. If you bring in a full container, it's a flat fee. That you don't need to worry about. So I can quote you on the flat fee of a full container. I can quote you on warehousing rates. That's not a problem. Customs clearance will be a flat, not a flat fee, but a standard rate as well. For instance, if you have, the only reason why it's not flat is because if I have 15 different products in one shipment and only one product in another shipment, obviously your 15 products is going to take us longer to clear, and so that one will cost a little more. Okay, but you'll see the entire breakdown there. The only thing that I'll need more information about is how much you're looking to ship right now, its weight, and where are we picking up from, where are we dropping off at. That way we can get you your trucking rate and things like that. What you have to understand about ocean freight is ocean freight changes every 2 weeks. Okay?
Every 2 weeks?
Yes. It actually, right now, the economy is actually not stable to the point where it's actually changing every few days.
Wow.
So, I mean, in the past 2 weeks, we've already had our rates updated 3 times.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
crazy.
So it's just something that you guys need to consider. So the ocean freight, you will never know, and we will never tell you until your manufacturer actually says, hey, the shipment is going to be ready on this date. Because your rate depends not on when it's ready, it depends on when your container is actually brought into the port at origin.
My goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and here's the thing, when you first start shipping, okay, over at the origin, you won't have too many concerns. You're going to think it's about the easiest thing ever, because all you're going to do is everything will be taken care of by our offices. So you're going to look at it, just be reading emails, and you're saying, okay, it's all taken care of. That's it. Once it comes to the United States, during your first shipment, I promise you, your first shipment, you guys will start panicking a little, okay? It's nothing to be worried about, but you're going to be there trying to understand the costs, why they're there, what's happening, what's going on. And the second it arrives here, what you do need to understand is there's only a certain amount of days that allows us to make an appointment, pick up the container, deliver to you. And every single day wasted, our storage charges right now, as in the terminal, not our storage charges, over at the port in Los Angeles for a dry container, you're usually dealing with about $250 to $500 per day after the last free day. Okay, everything adds up, and that's why once it arrives in the United States, that's where during the first shipment, importers will start panicking. They're like, oh, where's my shipment? What's going on with it? Okay, it will be fast paced. That part you will have to prepare yourselves for, but when you guys are new at importing, we will try to give you guys a heads up notice, just so you guys can mentally prepare yourselves on what will happen in the future. After your first 2 or 3 shipments, I promise you guys will get used to it, and you're gonna think it's nothing.
Over the panic.
Yes.
Get used with the panic.
Exactly. Truthfully, yes.
Melanie, do you have a food grade warehouse here?
A food grade warehouse? Yes.
Yeah, because you solve the products here, if they exposed to the temperature fluctuation, where, for example, when the spring turns to the summer,
and then your food products go, correct.
It's gonna be graded. Some of the moth gonna be generated inside. So
when you're dealing with this, then we're going to be bringing it to a refrigerated facility. This one we won't own the warehouse, but we do have partner refrigerated warehouses
In the same location.
Yes,
around here.
all in the area.
The dry warehouse, so the temperatures gonna be about from 50 to 75 Fahrenheit degrees.
So what you're going to need to tell us us is what temperature you need it at, and then we will allocate it to the correct
Because
areas.
right now we refer to dry warehouse.
Okay, so for your dry warehouses, okay, we're gonna go back a step. So when we say dry warehouse, we mean not temperature controlled.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So what you're talking about is going to be your temperature controlled warehouses. Yes, we have that. We have that for your, in this case, we're going to consider a fresh product just because it's going to be, in a sense, room temperature still, but not room temperature. So in that case, yes, we do have it. We just need to know how much, because refrigerated warehouses are very, very high in demand right now.
Yeah. And expensive too.
Very expensive, exactly. For those, if you need it stored, you always want to tell us in advance. And what will happen is during, let's just say it's winter time, right? When you're shipping in the winter, what a lot of clients will do is they'll say, hey, it's winter time. They'll actually, sometimes they will take the risk and say, I'm going to store it in a true dry facility where it's not temperature controlled, because their idea is, we know that it will most likely leave this warehouse before it starts getting too hot. So at least it'll save them some costs. Then in the summertime, then they're gonna say, okay, it's summertime, I'm going to store in a refrigerated facility, make sure that the product doesn't go bad. So it all depends on what you guys want to do. If you want to store it in a temperature controlled area, you just need to let us know at what temperature and how much product, because those, we want to make sure those happen very far in advance in terms of reserving space.
So for our products, most of them are dry, right? So if he was concerning that if we store at your warehouse, the moth will come.
Correct. Yes.
So this warehouse will
It's not a temperature control warehouse.
No, this one will not be temperature controlled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will be. So it's not. It doesn't. It
But you
will-
got the option to.
Yes. So we can send it over to a temperature controlled when you need it. This specific facility is not going to be temperature controlled. Usually right now it's actually been pretty cool, but usually when we start getting to the summer,
It's so hot. Then
exactly. It will start getting to
Then
it will start
start-
getting into. It's not going to be as hot as outside,
Yeah.
but for your type of products,
Yeah, it
I
will.
do believe it will be hot enough where you do want to store it in a temperature controlled facility.
You know,
Yeah.
for our product, there are two sensitive temperatures period.
Yes.
From spring to summer, and from summer to autumn to fall. So we just want to make sure that our product's gonna be okay.
Yeah. So you just have to let us know what you want stored there and what you don't want stored there, and that won't be a problem, but you would have to let us know in advance.
How long should we tell you in advance? Like a couple months or a couple of weeks?
Well,
The period?
we'll kind of know that if you're going to have us help assist you with the freight forwarding, we're going to know because we're making all the booking arrangements too. So during that time while you're making the booking,
You
then
advise
you
us.
can exactly.
I'll tell you
So
in advance from that time.
usually what will happen is once everything starts happening, right, you're usually going to just tell us, hey, manufacturer has the product ready, start shipping.
Okay.
Okay.
So
During that
start
time
to
when you
tell them.
notify us, just say, when it gets here, please make sure it's in a refrigerated facility, or you only want these products in a refrigerator, these and not, and we'll make arrangements.
Because later on we're gonna start up on the product by container if we can have the good deal on it. So that's why we may start off a very long time,
Okay.
and that's why he's concerned about the room temperature, temperature control.
Yes.
Because if we start up too long, we need somewhere no problem with the product. You
Yes.
know? So as you say, we just tell you in advance.
Yeah.
When we order, when we start to order.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
And then you'll just need to let us know how much volume and products that we're actually storing, just so we can get everything prepared.
But if we have our product shipped directly to our warehouse, then our warehouse. Yeah. So if we have the product shipped directly to our warehouse, then our warehouse is temperature controlled, then that's good enough.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Very quick question about the license. I just make sure I do it right because as she told you, we have the small warehouse just couple of months. Just in case for business, we have business everything on there, and later on we use your warehouse over here, so we apply for another business license on your warehouse if we use your warehouse, right?
But no. The business license that you have, I assume your business license that you're referring to is just to sell products?
Yeah, just start like it's just a small one. Just a little bit of that product.
So what I'm saying is the business license that you're applying for. I assume the business license that you're applying for is just your Los Angeles business license to say you're allowed to operate as a company, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that business license, it doesn't matter where you store your product. The place you store your product, their facility has their own business license. You do not apply for another one for that facility and say my product is here.
It doesn't matter how many warehouse do I stop.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Exactly. It doesn't matter. It's your business license is tied to your company, your address.
I see. I know
if you
that.
use another company to store your product for you, a third party to store your product.
Party, right?
Exactly. The third party, they have their own business license, and if anyone asks and say, where's your product? You say, here's a third party facility, we store it at, that's it.
So we have our office to work on the paperwork and all things like that is at WeWork, right? WeWork facility.
Oh, okay.
We rent a WeWork
At the
facility.
Costa Mesa.
Okay.
In Costa Mesa. So our address, as working address, is at WeWork. So we use WeWork address as the business license. Would that be good enough? Because the warehouse is just the place to store the products. We're not working at the warehouse. We actually physically work in WeWork.
You physically work in
at
WeWork.
WeWork, yes.
Okay, then your business license would be at WeWork.
WeWork.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no. Because one time we applied the business license under the address of we were in Costa Mesa, and we have been applied for 2 weeks. It doesn't go through at all. So that's why I have to rent the warehouse in Santa Ana.
Okay.
And then
So
for
the
that
business license,
location address, they approve the business license at the same day.
I see.
So that's the reason she asked, like, what any problem if we using the address, like one address for working on the paper and one for the warehouse address.
Okay.
A different story.
And this is where our company background check comes into play for custom purchases.
Yeah.
So first thing I'm going to ask you is the address on your SS4 form and your articles of incorporation. What address is it?
It used to be in Costa Mesa, but right now we transfer every document to the address in warehouse already from last week.
You already filed your change of address over to your new facility?
Yes. We do.
Okay, so as long as all those match, then that's okay.
Now
what you need to understand is when you sign up power of attorney, we'll check everything for you. Okay, now that you're bringing it up, I'll make sure that our staff's double checking, make sure that everything is in place. But it's whatever you have registered with the state. Okay, that's your business license. Now, what you also need to understand is if you just put a third party facility somewhere else and you said this is where my address is. What you have to make sure you know is customs will send you mail and FDA and all your other government agencies will come visit you at that facility. So whatever facility you report to us, that's where they're going to go. And you have to be responsive there. So in order to check that addresses are valid and everything else, customs will usually just send you a mail and say, please confirm that this is your address, and they expect a response back. The second you don't respond back to them because you moved addresses or something else, they'll say, okay, this company is no longer valid because they didn't get a response back. Okay, so the address that you have must be a working address. It can't be a PO box, none of that stuff. It does need to be a physical address that customs and FDA and USDA can come check on you at.
So right now, if you apply the FDA registration for the small warehouse for us, so that small warehouse address in Santa is our business. We have business license.
You
for
the
that.
address for all the documents.
We have business license for that.
You have a business license over at your Santa Ana
Yeah,
location.
warehouse. Yeah, small
Okay,
warehouse.
then your FDA registration will be at your Santa, yes,
Right.
at that
So
location.
because we are leasing that for 3 months and it's small one, but we in the future we may lease for another bigger warehouse.
Okay.
At that time in point, then we will have to change the address with the FDA.
You won't change the address.
Yes.
You're actually going to get a new
Apply.
registration
Okay.
for the new
The whole
address. Correct.
application.
Because every facility is only allowed to have one address,
Oh, I see.
as in one registration.
But if we close out, we because the lease.
So when we
warehouse,
close it out,
yeah, and we
if we're the ones applying for you,
yeah,
you make sure that you tell us
that we change the
because-
address. It just
exactly.
change the address. So,
Because we will have to officially close it with FDA and then open a new one
new
for
one.
the new
Oh,
address.
okay, I see.
Because the FDA needs to know that it's not 2 active warehouses, or else they will hold you accountable for 2 active warehouses.
I see. But if we have 2 active warehouse, then we have to register FDA to warehouse.
Even if you switch over, you still need to register twice.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Got it.
So for the third party of warehouse, we don't need to do anything.
Correct.
But we have to use the
Because the third
current
party
facilities.
exactly, and what will be your responsibility if you use a third party? Your responsibility is to make sure your third party has their own FDA registration. That's your
That's
responsibility because you're the one who stored the product there, right? They just accepted it. Now, should they be held responsible for making sure that if they accept a food product, they should have registration? Yes. Are all warehouses going to actually do that? No, for obvious reasons. Okay, they're just not. They're not sitting there understanding what the federal regulations are. They care more about the state level. We're dealing with the federal government here.
So if we're using your storage, then you are consider our third
Yes.
Third party
warehouse.
of the warehouse.
Warehouse, yeah. Okay. Right.
So whatever if the FDA want to check everything, if we start up the product over here, they just connect us by the other address to confirm that the product needs to be checked in the third warehouse, the third party warehouse. Yeah. Wow, it's good to know, huh?
Well,
but
she will inform us
yeah.
everything anyway. So
Yeah.
You just like one stop for all.
yeah.
What we need.
That's why. That's why
That was the goal of the company.
So that's why
I'm glad
after
that
I talked to you,
yeah.
I told her right away.
She's so nervous, you know.
Because I already paid them, and I don't want it's
If they haven't started the registration,
Yeah.
Register Corps for the most part, if they haven't started the registration,
Yes.
they should provide you everything back.
Yeah.
So
haven't.
they usually should not give you a cancellation fee or any of that stuff. But again, that's just up to whoever you purchase with. I can't speak for them, obviously.
Understood.
But I mean, if let's just say they've already registered. Again, there's no problem with them registering for you. Okay, you just need to make sure that whatever they registered, you have to be held accountable for it. Okay. Whatever, if there's other facilities, let's just say you pay for the one that you already have with them and you would say, okay, I'll just leave it for here. What you can do is you leave it with them. If they don't want to refund you, leave it with them. Then in 2 years when it expires and they say,
You will
hey,
renew it.
exactly, you just let us know and say, we'd like you to renew it instead, and we will do the renewal.
Okay. All right. So that's good.
So
But
that service
just
and
make sure.
the service.
But I
and
think,
all.
yeah, but I already canceled with them on the day that I talked to you. So I don't think we have any problem with the refund or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Within
to make sure,
25
but to make sure that the whole process goes smoothly, I guess that when can we start all the paperwork with you?
We will, if you guys are ready, we will start that right away. So over email, I'll probably send you definitely the warehousing rates. Trucking rates will obviously need to know your where we're picking up from, where we're delivering to, things like that. And then we'll also get you to sign the power of attorney. That's the first thing we're going to need to do, and that's for the customs clearance purposes.
Okay.
In the meantime, for the FDA registration,
Yes.
if your manufacturer needs an FDA registration from us, well, no, you said they already have one.
No.
So it's
We dealing with the
more than one.
more than
Okay,
one.
got
Three. One of them
One of them
already.
has
One
it.
in the process and one in the future. We support them.
Okay,
So
so
three
the ones that
suppliers.
don't have one, if you, okay, let me stop you there. For the factory where you say you're going to support them in the future, do not have them file a registration until you are ready to actually purchase from them. Or else you purchase from them now, you file the registration now, you don't buy it for them for another 4 or 5 months, you've wasted 4 months of your registration. Make
I
sense?
see. Oh
Yeah.
wow, you
So-
want to keep it as long as
Again, we're here.
activated.
We're not here to
Oh,
take your
cost.
money.
Yes.
That's what register
understand.
for is there for. Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
You tell them register me. They're gonna register you that day.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So for
Save money, save
exactly.
time.
Yes.
So for your registration,
This is a long-term.
the ones that are in the process, if they're in the process, then finish the process.
Yes.
Okay. But if you ever need an FDA registration, let us know in advance because the companies that we file registration for,
Okay.
we do have a power of attorney that they have to sign as well. Okay.
So for right now, we will, like I said, I already cancel with them. So regardless, they refund or not, but it's already been canceled. So they're not going to file.
They're not going to file.
No,
Okay.
because I already canceled. If they refund or they credit or not, that is a different story. But I hope that they will refund because it's within 1 day.
Yeah.
But talking about cancellation, I did cancel. So there's no, they did not file any paperwork.
Okay. So if you'd like us to file the registration,
Yes.
then you'll need to get us in contact with the manufacturer because there is going to be a lot of questions we're going to have for them, and they'll also need a power of attorney with us just so that
The
to give us
manufacturer in
authorization.
Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay.
To give us authorization to actually do the filing.
But you also need to do the FDA registration for our warehouse here too, right?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
So the FDA registration
We
for
can
you
start with
guys,
that.
it will be a lot easier for us. You guys are already here.
Right.
We have all your information,
Right.
and we're already gonna have the power of attorney with you guys.
Yes.
So that will take care of it.
Okay. Now, like I said, I already canceled with them. Okay. I wrote them an email and canceled everything already. And now, you are filing the FDA registration for me for that warehouse, my warehouse. If they also go ahead and do the filing with that any conflict, will you know if
Yes,
you go in the
no,
system?
I'll
you
know.
Okay.
I'll know.
All
Yeah.
right, that's
so
good. Okay.
if it happens,
Okay.
don't worry.
Yeah,
I'll let
because
you know. You
yes.
can't have duplicates.
Yes, because we already told them to not to, but
Of
if
course.
if they go ahead and do it,
Yeah,
and then
if
you
they do it, and then we do
then
it,
you let us
we,
know.
Exactly.
Then we
we'll
just-
know automatically.
then
and
we
we'll
just use
contact you.
then we just leave whatever we
Exactly.
use in it. We go ahead and proceed with the rest, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So when you email to us on information on document requirement in Vietnam to verify on the information, can you please send 2 packets because right now we're working with 2 suppliers. One have the FDA registered already, and the other one they in the process of it. So they are 2 different companies. So if you take care at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's the power of attorney for them. It's going to. We're just gonna send you a
Two
blank power
packets.
of
And
attorney.
another question. I want to know if when we're dealing with the manufacturer in Vietnam, do you have paperwork that in Vietnamese or it has to be in English because sometimes they don't understand English? Do we have translation?
So we can. So while we can offer translation, when they sign their paperwork, it must be in English, and that is only for customs regulations. Everything we do for customs, for instance, even an invoice and a packing list, when you give it to us, you cannot give it to us in Vietnamese. You must give it to us in English because obviously for customs, they're not there paying translators to translate
They
it for
can
them.
translate by themselves. They have actually they all have their own lawyer to do that.
Yeah,
Actually
exactly.
To do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They-
don't worry about
but
it.
a lot of your manufacturers will not have any issues with translating.
Yeah.
She want to see the
What's
warehouse.
the warehouse?
Yeah.
Is
But-
it late?
Yeah, actually, I have another meeting to get to. I apologize for that. Yeah. But I mean, in the future, if you guys want to set up an appointment, then you're more than welcome to see the facility. And
Sorry that we know that you have another appointment, but you ask somebody short very quick, like just take a very quick look on the website.
On the warehouse.
So we know the idea of your warehouse.
Yeah, just take a small tour.
A tour, very quick tour.
So our office actually closes at 5.
Oh.
Yeah. No, which is why there won't be anyone
So
here
we
right
just
now.
we just have to make an appointment to come back.
Exactly. Yeah, I do apologize for that.
No, we understand. So just make appointment for another tour because I do know shop around here on different locations, but my coworker they might.
So I will email you to make appointment for walk through or to see the warehouse, new warehouse, and then you will be in touch.
Start to work on the paperwork.
The first thing is whatever the first thing that you need me to do, to email me, like the FDA registration, what information you need, and let me know.
Okay.
So we can start with that, and so email me the price quotation and that so I can do the payment.
Of course, no problem.
We really appreciate your help.
You're really a lifesaver for some customers. Really.
No worries.
You are the one we're looking for so long.
I search around a lot. I do a lot of homework, a lot of readings.
Really?
Yes, and so I found you, and I call many other places. So I call you, I call registered corporation, and but then you call. But when I talk to you, I want to write because other places, when we talk, we kind of feel it. But I did a lot of homework. So.
Have very good impression
Glad to
about
hear
you,
it.
and we assume that she right. So
Glad to
we
hear it.
appreciate
It
your
was a
help.
pleasure meeting all of you
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you.